The question today, do you cry in films? Now, I've spoken about this on the channel before. I am an easy crier. And so when NarendraTheComic said, you know what, Indy, you have not seen Logan, and Deadpool and Wolverine is coming out in like a week. You really should see it because they're definitely going to be making references to it. Everything I've heard about the film was that people were crying, that it was really heavy, that it was deep, that it was uncomfortable and saddening. And I thought, I don't need to put myself through that. But guess who put herself through that? Me, Nonsensei. And guess who cried for over an hour straight? Me! But it's a testament to how good the story was. Now, I'm going to break it down in a couple different ways. I know NarendraTheComic has already given a review on this years ago when the film came out, which is why I'm here by myself. But first and foremost, the acting was incredible. Across the board, it was so brilliantly done. I think Daphne Keane as this young girl, this young X-23, was just so brilliant. She had so few lines, but her impact was up there. Of course, when I think about Logan and I think about Wolverine, Hugh Jackman is incredible, but the performance in this film was next level. There was this deep, unsettling sorrow about him. He was suicidal. He was going through a really hard time where everyone he'd ever known basically had already passed away. They'd all died except for Charles Xavier. And seeing Charles Xavier as this elderly, frail man was kind of painful to watch. Of course, we've seen versions of him where he was able-bodied and then he enters the wheelchair and that phase in his life. But this is just a version that I'd never sat down to think about. What happens when he gets old and he becomes infirm of mind, and what happens with people around him and the effect he can have. I think this is the best comic book film I've ever seen. It made me feel so many different things across the board. There was happiness, there was sadness, there was physical pain, there was shock and awe from the amount of gore. They really went in, but everything felt justified. The only qualm I have is that the villains felt a little bit weak, but really it wasn't about the villains. At this point in time for Logan, he didn't need the strongest villain to go up against in this story. Partially the villain was himself in some sense. In this film, we see Logan and Wolverine be more human than ever. He's wrestling with the idea of death, he's wrestling with the idea that his time is nearly up and that he hasn't left the mark he wanted to on this world. And that's what Charles keeps pushing at him, saying, you aren't the person I thought you were. Seeing Sir Patrick Stewart be this bitchy version of Charles sometimes was really funny, and other times it was just really, really sad to see. I have to admit that I'm really, really glad that I watched this film. It's one of those 10 out of 10s that I'm not going to be rewatching. When Narendra said, oh, you know, you should watch it, maybe we should watch together, I said, oh, have you re-seen this? Have you watched this again after that first time? He said, no, I never wanted to because it's too heavy. I feel very much the same. This is one of those films that it's a one, it's a done. I've experienced all the emotions I need to experience with these characters, and it left us with this burgeoning sense of hope at the end for these young New Mutants and where they're going to be going in their life and how difficult it's going to be for them, but better. I'm more than happy to watch Deadpool and Wolverine next week or the week after and just have some haha funny laughs because I need that back, okay? My eyes are still red. I watched this film like 18 to 20 hours ago and I woke up this morning with a swollen face from the amount that I cried. I can't put myself through that again. So I really hope that Wolverine does not die in Deadpool and Wolverine because I can't go through him dying again, okay? I simply cannot. Now we've gone through most of the review, we can do that classic fact of the day that is reliable and that will not be making me cry. Page number 272, fact number 1. Despite playing the Fonz for 10 years on the sitcom Happy Days, Henry Winkler never learned to ride a motorcycle. Well, you know who can ride a motorcycle? Logan.